Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Members, if you're looking at the board, the third column from the right, in between a name that has Fisher and a name that has Proctor, we have a new delegate that I swore in today. Her name is Rachel Jones, representing District 27B from Owens, Maryland. Welcome her. Has everyone recorded their presence?
I got it.
Everyone recorded their presence, so the clerk will take the call. There being 123 members present, the House is now in session. Clerk will read the journal from the previous day.
Annapolis, Maryland, February the 16th, 2021.
Recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Motion must be considered the reading of the journal from the previous day.
Appointment. The clerk will read the appointment.
Resolved that the Speaker makes the following committee appointment: the Honorable Rachel Jones to the Judiciary Committee. By order, Sylvia Siegert, Chief Clerk.
Hearing no objection, the appointment is adopted. Introduction of House bills. The clerk will read the bills and their committee assignments.
House Bill 1353, Delegate Cox, House Rules. House Bill 1354, Delegate Dumais, House Rules. House Bill 1355, Delegate Griffith, House Rules. By order, Sylvia Siegert, Chief Clerk.
Clerk will read the bond initiatives and the committee assignment.
Introductory House Bond Initiatives number 16, referred to appropriations.
Message from the Senate. Consent calendar, Senate bills introduced in the House. The clerk will read the first bill and committee assignment.
Senate Bill 19, Chair, Budget and Taxation Committee, Ways and Means.
Recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the reading of Senate Bill 19 be considered the reading for all the bills on the calendar.
Hearing no objections, the bills are read the first time and referred to the appropriate committee. Report of the Committee on Health and Government Operations, report number 3. The report is a consent calendar. The clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 38, State Government, Department of Information Technology, Cybersecurity, favorable.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the reading of the first bill be the reading of all the bills on the calendar.
So ordered. The question before the House is the adoption of the favorable reports. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable reports are adopted. All the bills on the report are ordered printed for third reading. Report of the Committee on Health and Government Operations, report number 4. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 107, Prohibition on Vending Machine Sales of Drugs and Medicines, repeal, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 141, Maryland Department of Health, Residential Service Agencies, Training Requirements. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Be so much considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 clarifies the circumstances under which an RSA is not required to provide specified training. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. The question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 161, Health Occupations, Registration of Audiology Assistants. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing subcommittee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Be so much considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical and changes the short title, portions of the purpose paragraph, and section references to conform to substantive changes of Amendment number 2. Amendment number 2 changes the bill to establish a license to practice as an audiology assistant rather than a registration to practice. Move the amendments.
The question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. The question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 207, Nursing Homes, Resident Change in Condition Notification. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing subcommittee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I am substituting for the committee chair today.
Okay.
Be so much considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 alters the time frame for notification from 24 hours to immediately and includes decisions to transfer or discharge a resident to the reason for notification. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. The question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 297, Maryland Lynching Truth and Reconciliation Committee, Reporting and Sunset Extension. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing subcommittee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading amendments. Amendment
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 adjusts dates for the commission. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. The question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 484, Healthcare Facilities, Dialysis Treatment Services, Training, David Selby Dialysis Parity Act. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Amendment 1 strikes under certain circumstances and the Office of the Inspector and substitutes and the Office of the Inspector General within the department. Amendment number 2 strikes when referring and substitutes shall refer. It adds general and to the Office of the Inspector General with department. Move the amendments.
The question before the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. The question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 554, Division of Consumer Protection, Assisted Living Programs. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair, floor leader.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Be so much considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 clarifies that OHCQ is required to refer an allegation of an unfair, abusive, or deceptive trade practice by an assisted living program to CPD and the Office of the Inspector General within the Department of Health. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. The question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Report number 3, report of the Committee on Judiciary. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 186, Courts, Court Dog Therapy Program, Veterans Treatment Courts. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
The amendments are technical. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. The question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 268, Criminal Trial Spousal Privilege Exception. Favorable.
The question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Report of the Committee on Economic Matters. Report number 7. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 56, Labor and Employment Leave with Pay, Bereavement Leave. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 148, Commercial Law Personal Information Protection Act Revisions. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the subcommittee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Be so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 clarifies when substitution notice can be given to a consumer regarding a breach of personal information. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. Question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Gentlemen from Anne Arundel in the annex.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Will the floor leader please rise for a question?
Yes.
Thank you. I just got a chance to look over this real quick, and my question is it the legislative body intent, if there is a breach, to have the small businesses pay for that notification to the customers?
What do you mean by pay for the notification to the customer? They're responsible for communicating to the customer that small breach, and they have various methods that they can do that. They can do it by sending an email, send it postal mail, phone call, or putting information out in the public information like your community's newsletter or your community's public TV.
Well, the reason I ask is, so if we're a business that maybe collects credit cards, but it's all encrypted and it goes to a third party to handle those credit card transactions, such as let's say Visa or MasterCard, or some other third party that handles merchant accounts, then would it be the small business's expense to then tell everybody that was breached, even though the breach really didn't happen on their end, it happened on the larger scale?
Correct. And so if you have a third-party entity that's collecting that data and you don't have that data, so it's not your responsibility to make that, pay that cost or make that disclosure.
Okay, so the legislative intent is not to put it on the small business owner.
Correct. That is not our intent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 569, electricity net energy metering limit, favorable.
The question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Report of the Committee on Judiciary, report number 4. The report is a consent calendar. The clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 126, Public Safety Pretrial Services Program Grant Fund Extension and Program Requirements, favorable.
Madam Speaker,
Recognizing the committee chair.
I move that the reading of the first bill be considered the reading of all the bills on the calendar.
So ordered. The question before the House is the adoption of the favorable reports. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable reports are adopted. All the bills on the report are ordered printed for third reading. Report of the Committee on Economic Matters, report number 6. The report is a consent calendar. The clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 261, Business Regulation Battery Charge Fence Security Systems Regulation, favorable.
Recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The clerks have been notified that a member wishes to remove House Bill 261 from this consent calendar.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The House Bill 261 has been removed from the calendar. Clerk will read the next bill. No. Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the reading of the first bill be the reading of all the bills on the calendar.
Okay. The question before the House is the adoption of the favorable reports. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable reports are adopted. All of the bills on the report, except the one that was referenced, are ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read
261.
the next.
House Bill 261, Business Regulation Battery Charge Fence Security Systems Regulation, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none.
Speaker, sorry.
Recognizing the minority whip.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Will the floor leader rise, please?
Sure.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have a few questions about this bill. My first question is, can you tell us what this bill does?
Basically, this is a pro-business bill. Basically, what it is on commercial lands only. It allows them to put a
I
electric.
think you got the wrong bill. Battery charge fence security system?
That's correct.
Okay,
Just roll with me. I got you.
sorry.
So basically, what this allows is on commercial properties only, it allows them to put a electric fence behind an already existing fence. They can't do it on their own, and this is an alarm system. If this fence is breached, it sets off an alarm so let the individuals who own these commercial properties know that somebody's entering their properties. So that's what the bill does, and it allows them to do it. We set state standards because what was happening is many of these businesses are waiting up to a year just to get the local municipalities or counties to approve the fencing. It was slowing down their progress.
So it's only commercial, because I
Correct.
did not see that in the bill. It is wherever you put it, it's only going to deal. So we're not talking about electric dog fences then?
That is correct.
We're not capturing people who install their own invisible fence for their pets?
No, we're not.
Okay, and then, so in many jurisdictions, people are already doing this, right?
That's correct.
They don't need approval. So instead of helping the commercial, aren't you hurting them by making them have to go through another regulatory step to get if they can already install this, then what problem are we solving?
Because the issue is each jurisdiction, you can't just do it. You obviously have to get permission, you have to go through codes. Each jurisdictions have their different rules. So these larger companies installing these products have to jump through different hoops depending on the jurisdiction they're in, and some have no rules. And that's even worse because they have no rules or regulations. They just kind of are stymied. They can't put the fence in.
Or I understand they're currently putting them in, and now this will put a hurdle on them. So why didn't this come in as a local bill? Because not all the jurisdictions are doing this. In many jurisdictions, people can they install them on their own? Are you now requiring somebody who wants to self-install a battery charge fence security system to pay someone, or did you have a caveat for self-installation?
I don't believe there was a caveat for self-installation, brief indulgence. Because it was the companies themselves, the installing companies, that asked for this. The ones that build and install the fences, those electric fences, are the ones that ask for this to be put in.
Or are they trying to shut out their competition?
What do you mean, the individual?
The companies that you just spoke of.
They're trying to shut out what competition?
I mean, if people can install them by themselves, currently self-install this, and now you're making them jump through hoops and have to hire someone to do it, isn't that putting a hurdle up?
No, because you're not making them have to do it. What they can still, as long as they're following the state standard and code, it can be done. We just established a baseline for everyone to follow. So if you want to install it yourself, God bless you, go ahead. But as long as it follows that state standard and it's behind an existing fence and it's on commercial property, do your thing. But it is not to put any business over the individual.
So would you mind if I special ordered this so that I can potentially draw up an amendment to make sure that we allow self-installers to not be roped into this?
That is not a problem.
Fenced into this?
That is not a problem.
I'm sorry?
But that's not a problem.
Okay.
That was a problem.
All right. Thank you. I move to special order this until the next time we meet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The question before the House is a special order, House Bill 261, to the appropriate time next session. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Are there any additional amendments to the bill to its title? Okay, no. Okay. Special order calendar number 15. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 76, Water Pollution Control, Intervention in Civil Actions, Rights, and Authority.
Maker of the motion, gentleman from Western Maryland.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I've had an opportunity to look at the bill and discuss things briefly with my colleagues. While I still retain my opposition to the bill, I had an amendment drafted, but I won't offer the amendment at this time. Thank you.
Any other amendments to this bill? Hearing none. Bill is ordered printed for third reading. Special order calendar number 17. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 313, Cooperative Housing Corporations, Condominiums, and Homeowners Associations Reserve Studies statewide. Favor report is amended and adopted.
Recognizing the maker of the motion, General Lady from Carroll.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yesterday on the floor, I asked a few questions about this bill, and I'll just remind the body what it does, and then we'll be offering an amendment. Basically, this bill requires a study every 5 years of the reserves needed for future major repairs and replacement of common elements of a cooperative housing corporation or condominium or the common areas of a homeowners association. Currently, that applies just in Prince George's County, and now this bill will take it statewide to all of our counties. And while I see that this bill is well intended and there's some situations where probably it's needed for large large condominium associations, this bill is so broad that it basically applies to all of our homeowners associations in the state. So if you live in a 10-unit single-family home development and you have common area, it applies to you. And you have to get a reserve study. It applies, it's just so broad. So I have an amendment at the desk that would hopefully rein this in a little bit, because there was really no rationale as to how we decided who this was going to apply to versus just everybody. So, Madam Speaker, I have amendment number 703-921/1.
Amendment number 1.
So be the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
This amendment basically just for homeowners associations, and this is just one piece. I didn't have the time to research all the others, but just for homeowners association, it would say it must contain more than 50 lots. Some of our homeowners associations, as you know, we might have a community with 30 houses and they have a sign out front that the community takes care of, or a playground or some walking paths. And this bill will now require the community association to do a reserve study every 5 years, and very prescriptive as to who can do the reserve study. It must be prepared by an individual who has prepared at least 30 reserve studies for the applicable type of community within the prior 3 calendar years, holds a bachelor's degree in construction management, architecture, or engineering, holds a current license from the State Board of Architects or the State Board of Professional Engineers, and it goes on, very prescriptive. These reserve studies are very expensive, even just to contract with someone to do one. And for the big condo associations and the big community associations, I can get that. But this is going to envelope everyone. All of your smaller homeowners associations, you could have a condo association as small as 2, 4, 10, 16 units, and you now have to do a very costly reserve study. I believe that we might have to do a special assessment on people just to do the reserve study and pay for it. So while it's well-intentioned, I think it's too broad, and this amendment is very, very small. I think we actually need to go further. But I would suggest that you support this amendment that would at least allow it to exempt homeowners associations with less than 50 lots, so that the solution is not worse than the cure. I mean, the cure is not worse than the disease. So I move the amendment. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I haven't seen the amendment, but if it is as it is described, the committee would ask the body to reject it. First of all, there's no good reason to only have this apply to homeowners associations and not the other common ownership communities. There's no compelling reason for this bill to be limited in that way. Secondly, these reserve studies, the initial reserve study might be a little expensive. The 5-year renewal study is really just an update and will be substantially less expensive. But do you know what's more expensive than a reserve study? The ugly surprise of discovering 2 years down the road that you have to replace the roof or the boiler or some other expensive capital common element. This law, as it's proposed, is based on a very successful law in Prince George's County. It applies to everyone in Prince George's County. It's been very successful, and by successful, I mean it is seen that way by the professionals in this market area. And so I would ask for you to reject this amendment and support the bill, because let's think about an expensive capital expenditure. You look at a roof, and it might look like it's perfectly fine, but it's not. And You do a reserve study and you discover that rather than having a 30-year life, 10 years from now, it's going to have to be replaced. That reserve study then will allow the common ownership community to basically parcel out the expense over a 10-year period of time rather than getting an ugly surprise in year 9, year 10, or year 11. And by the way, that would be a very, very, very expensive situation at that point. And, you know, think about this logically. If you own a unit and then in year 8 you sell it to a good faith purchaser, he or she buys it, and then next year, because there was no reserve study, he or she, the new owner, discovers they have a gigantic assessment. That's not fair to anyone. So I would ask you to reject the amendment and then, of course, to support the bill.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Will the floor leader please rise for a question?
I'm sorry, did you say the floor leader? Here I am.
I'm sorry, I'm only seeing myself on the big screen. Doesn't look so good.
Okay, yes. I'm the floor leader. I'm on my feet.
Thank you. Did you take into consideration, I can tell you from personal experience here in Anne Arundel County, if you've subdivided a piece of land and maybe just have 2 lots and you share, let's say, a playground or a piece of forestation, you're forced to start your own HOA. And that HOA has got to be maintained even though you really have no input on what houses go there or what happens to the houses. And now you're going to have this study put on somebody that's got an HOA that's overlooking a playground that 2 houses share. So I'm curious, did anybody come to testify? Because each county has different codes and regulations, obviously, when you subdivide or you own a piece of land. So to me, the amendment, really, it's a sensible amendment. So I was curious if anybody did come testify in those regards.
First of all, nobody testified against the bill. One entity, I think the builders, said that it ought to be limited in a manner similar to this, but that was discussed in the subcommittee, and I think it was discussed briefly in the entire committee. You know, I want you to think about something. The smaller the HOA, the uglier the surprise would be when you have an unintended expense. Also, I want you to think about the fact that typically, I'll let it stand at that. I think that we should follow the example of the very successful law in Prince George's County and make this statewide and reject the amendment.
So are you concerned at all with the same example I just gave you, that we're looking over a piece of playground equipment and now they're going to be asked to possibly do a $3,000, $5,000, $7,000 study for something that has absolutely zero impact on them? And I know this is just not a.
Well, I don't know where you got that estimate of $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 study. But I will tell you this: as an owner, I think I'd want to know sooner rather than later if there's a large expense down the road, because I like to plan for stuff.
I just think it's far too overreaching, and I would ask the body to support the amendment.
Well, again, I would say this is based, the law that's before you is based on a very successful law in a major jurisdiction. I would ask you to reject the amendment.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from St. Mary's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question for the floor leader, please.
Certainly.
You mentioned on the floor speech when you were responding to the amendment, this law is based on a successful law in Prince George's County.
Yes.
Can you tell me when that law went into effect?
I can find out. 2020.
So when the successful law went into effect in October of 2020?
I'm sure if there were any problems, they would have been communicated very quickly.
How successful? That was only 4 months ago, right?
We work fast.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Floor Leader. The body I raised to support this amendment, I mean, it might have been successful. It's hard to judge the success of a homeowner association law that was pushed into law about 4 months ago. So I would ask the body to support the amendment. Thank you.
And
thank
I
you
would
to
remind the
floor.
body that nobody testified against the bill.
Madam Speaker.
Okay. Maker of the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to reiterate some of the comments that were made about roofs and HVAC systems and elevators are very valid for large condo associations. I don't disagree with that. This applies to all homeowners associations. My home is in a 30-unit development. We have a sign out front. We don't have any roofs. We don't have any elevators. We don't have any HVAC systems. We have a sign. Some communities have walking paths. Some have a tot lot. You literally are encompassing all of these communities into this bill. And so my point is, one size does not fit all. In Carroll County, we do not have large condo associations. We don't have this problem. We have a lot of homeowner associations that have a sign out front that every 10 years we chip in $50 and we pay to get the sign repainted. Or we have a walking path that does not really, it's not an integral part of a roof. So my point is, this involves many, many different groups of people that don't have any roofs or don't have any HVAC systems, and it's very, very broad. I do believe when people start thinking about this in your own communities and how many there are thousands in the fiscal note somewhere it tells how many thousands of units this will affect, and over 1 million people. They're now going to have to do reserve studies for things they don't really need them for. So I just believe the bill is too broad. This little amendment would at least rein it in a little bit. I don't think it's enough, but I urge you to support the amendment and then maybe give us some time to see how Prince George's County makes out, or people that have these large condo associations that might need this kind of law. But in my county, we don't believe that we need it. It's just putting an extra cost on our homeowners associations, very expensive cost, very prescriptive, and I urge you all to support this amendment.
Let me say, number one, there's no compelling reason to limit such an amendment to homeowners associations. Number two, if all you have is a walking path, sounds like a really cheap reserve study. And number three, there are lots of common ownership communities currently that have been doing reserve studies on their own, and it's a very useful consumer protection for owners and for purchasers down the road when you want to sell your unit. And so I would ask you to reject the amendment.
The gentleman from Anne Arundel in the annex.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support of the amendment. I believe the reasons that the floor leader has given doesn't really hone in on the actual fact that if you have a 16-unit homeowner association and you have one small marquee in the front that costs to build $4,000, and the entire budget of the whole community is usually like $10,000, $15,000 a year, there is no hidden costs in the future. Now, if there are elevators, if there are pools, I can understand that these are really costly. But the exempt units that or associations or homeowner associations that have less than 50 units is a reasonable compromise, because I agree, bigger communities, they might have pools, they have gyms, they have roofs, common area. But in these small associations, there are no common areas except for cutting the grass and paying insurance and possibly have a marquee. So I urge the body to support this amendment. I think there's a lot of unintended consequences if we leave the bill the way it is right now. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
The gentleman from Hartford.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just really quickly on the amendment. So we've talked a lot in this body about the jobs I've had over the last few years. From 2016 through 2019, I was the chief marketing officer for an HOA and condo management company that ranged from Pennsylvania to South Carolina, Maryland, Delaware, and so forth. Because of the time investment of an engineering company, even for a small 4-home HOA, it is rare to find a reserve study for less than $5,000, even for the small HOA. That's the only reason why I would request we could consider this very small amendment for the very small HOAs. Thank you very much.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Sure, there are lots of common ownership communities with 40 units or 35 units that have extensive capital expenditures. You know, look, if you want an ugly surprise, then fine, vote against this bill. But I think that the amendment is just not well considered. If you don't like the bill, then vote against it.
Madam Speaker.
The gentleman from Allegheny.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. Floor Leader. I think there was a question of, had anybody opposed this bill? I'm sorry, sir. I think there was a former question that had anybody opposed this bill.
Right. Let me double check. I don't think so. Well, was I right? The CAI organization, let me correct myself, the CAI organization wanted to get a variance from the national organization to support it. They didn't get that, and so that for that reason, they had to oppose the bill, but they really didn't want to.
Okay. Thank you very much for that clarification. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Committee Chair.
I'd like to special order the amendment in the bill until the appropriate time tomorrow. Next session.
Question for the House is a special order House Bill 313 and the amendment until the next session. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Special order calendar number 16. The clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 156, Student and Military Voter Empowerment Act. Favorable report is amended and adopted.
Recognizing the maker of the minority whip.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. All my questions have been answered in a very positive fashion. Thank you for the time.
The gentleman from the Eastern Shore in the annex. Are there any other amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Special order calendar number 18. The clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 320, Maryland Longitudinal Data System, Transfer of Student Data Modifications. Bill on third reading. The maker of the motion is the gentleman from Baltimore County in the annex.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I did have an opportunity to look at the bill in its entirety and to look at the pieces of the statute that were being repealed and replaced. And I still don't see where in student data previously it included personally identifiable information. So it is still my belief that this is new language and that this could potentially allow for people's juvenile information to be tied to their personally identifiable information, as it is now all defined under the title of student data. So I will be a no on this bill. Thank you very much.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to read something that I received from the Maryland Longitudinal Data System that was sent to the good delegate and all the delegates who spoke up on the floor the other day on this issue. This bill, and so if anyone had reached out to MLDS or gotten this email from their office of those who just spoke today and 2 days ago, this bill clarifies that the data to be collected includes personally identifiable information. The center is already authorized to and already collects it. However, the Department of Health indicated that without the specific statutory reference, they could not disclose this on their licenses. While that assertion was not fully settled since the statute was being revised, the clarifying language was added. I would also add that people are concerned about the privacy issues here and the sharing of data, but it used to be that this data went to MHEC and then to MLDS. This bill is making it directly go to MLDS, where fewer hands touch things, and that data has never had anyone's individual identifying information shared. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I urge the body to support the bill.
Is there any further
Madam
debate?
Speaker.
Gentleman from Calvert.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So the issue with the Maryland Longitudinal Data System is the fact that the data is being collected in the first place and being centralized. That's really the issue. And a few years ago, and it's important to know the history of this particular bill and this particular system. A few years ago, we asked Ways and Means to allow parents to opt out of this system. And they said no. And that was wrong. And every year, we see another bill collecting more information on our children because some believe that your data doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the state. And they are wrong. It belongs to the parents and their children. And that's why I'm fundamentally against this bill. So I urge you to vote against it, and that's why I am too. Thank you.
House Bill 320 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote?
He's not in the room, is he?
Okay. Clerk will take the call. There being 96 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 320, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their presence? Clerk will take the roll. There being 131 members present, the House is still in session. Calendar third reading, House Bills number 13. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 105, Department of Housing and Community Development Administration Compliance Monitoring Reporting.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 109 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 105, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 115, Vehicle Laws, canceled, revoked, and suspended driver's licenses Penalties?
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 127 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 115, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 225, Queen Anne's County Natural Resources Sunday Hunting.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 124 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 225, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 247, Election Law, Accommodations for Voters in Need of Assistance.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 247, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 281, Local Government, Humane Society and Animal Control Officers, Education and Training Requirements.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 130 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 281, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 352, Real Property Condominiums and Homeowners Associations, Governing Bodies and Annual Meetings.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 102 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 352, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 373, Education, Child Abuse, and Sexual Misconduct Prevention, Hiring Emergent Employees.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 373, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 400, Public Schools, Enrollment, Location, Continuity.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 400, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 407, On-Site Sewage Disposal Systems, Inspection, Licensing.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 104 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 407, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 451, Real Property, Residential Rental Property Inspection, Remote Visual Inspection.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 122 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 451, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. The full House will not meet tomorrow morning. Listen for subcommittees later today. Recognizing the protocol chair in the annex.
Well, good morning, colleagues. I hope everyone is enjoying this beautiful day. I wanted you to know that our pages are actually with us this year, even though they are remotely. We have pages that are supporting both the House and the Senate, and they have been watching your committee meetings, they've been watching your subcommittee meetings, they've been watching our floor sessions. And so if you have the opportunity, please reach out to Dr. Tawana Offer to see how you may be able to have a word or two with these pages. They've been with us each week, and they are watching us right now. So if you can, I've tried to do what each of you do when we introduce our pages. You know, when they're from your county, we make a whole lot of noise. We beat on our desks and we holler. So I have been doing that for you, but it really does take a lot of energy. So because they are watching us right now, can you all please just welcome our pages this week? So I just wanted to take a moment to let you know that they are here. And thank you all so much for extending your grace to these young people.
That ends the work at the desk. All committee bill hearings are listed on the Maryland General Assembly website. Quorum call before adjournment.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their presence? The clerk will take the call. There being 132 members present, the House is still in session, recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And members, just a quick announcement for those of you on the floor here in the State House. Our DGS employees are doing fantastic work trying to keep everything safe for everyone, but because of the rate of ice fall, they're having a little trouble keeping up out on the plaza. So if you could use the tunnels to get back to the House office building, that would be much appreciated. Madam Speaker, I move that the House stand adjourned until Friday, February 19th at 3 p.m. for a pro forma session.